So we get to the main event, a Miracle on 34th Street fight between Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose. I really enjoyed this matchup. I saw a lot of complaints that, Wyatt and Ambrose are both crazy characters. They're both cool characters. They shouldn't be involved in Christmas silliness. I mean, that being said, but yeah, like I said before, they're both crazy characters. So it kind of fits in with the theme of the match. And that they'll both do anything. And Ambrose is always like, he's kind of like an internet troll kind of character. I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but he's like one of those guys that will do something dumb and make it look cool. Like the Tricker Street fight that he had with Cesaro, which I still think is a clever-ass name, on the Halloween episode a couple of months ago. That was really fun. This was nothing short of entertaining, in my opinion. A lot of cool spots. A lot of similar spots to what they did at TLC with Ambrose jumping off the ladder and through the table to Bray Wyatt. So a lot of similar stuff, but they also brought in some new stuff as well with the presents. I mean, I always enjoyed this kind of shit. I enjoyed it when Otunga and Orton did it a couple years ago. I enjoyed it when Cena and Del Rio did it 2 years ago. It's always good. And I thought these two fit in with the theme of the match very nicely. It was kind of similar to their Tribute to the Troops match, their boot camp match they had at the Tribute to the Troops show last week, if you watched it. But yeah, a lot of entertaining action, but the ending came when something happened with Ambrose. I forgot what it was, but then Wyatt threw his head. I think Ambrose missed a move or something, but Ambrose took his head, or Wyatt took the head of Ambrose and chucked it right into the Singapore cane or the kendo stick that was sticking out of the turnbuckle, and right into the eyes. And they're trying to play it off as that, even though Ambrose didn't sell the injury afterwards, so I don't know what they were trying to go for. And then Ambrose gets covered by Wyatt. 1, 2, 3. Wyatt wins cleanly. I mean, even though he used the kendo stick, whatever, it really doesn't matter. Technically, it was cleanly because it's all a part of the matchup. But I was shocked. I was very, very shocked that not only Wyatt won, but it was on the Christmas show, too. You would think they would have the babyface go over. And granted, Ambrose got the better of Wyatt afterwards by attacking him and putting him through another table. I mean, that's all well and good, but Ambrose, at the end of the day, lost again to Bray Wyatt. And I mean, I've been one, as big of an Ambrose fan as I am, in that I really didn't have much of an issue with him losing at Hell in a Cell to Seth Rollins. I didn't have an issue with him losing at Survivor Series. Fuck, I didn't even have an issue with him losing at TLC a couple of weeks ago, because Wyatt needs the wins more. I mean, this win I didn't agree with, but Wyatt needs the wins more in that I don't think he's going to be facing Undertaker at WrestleMania. I think that's a bullshit rumor. I don't even think Undertaker, based off the recent photos, will be wrestling at WrestleMania. But if he is, it's going to be against Sting. I don't think Wyatt and Undertaker... you don't have Sting and Triple H and then Undertaker Wyatt. That just makes no fucking sense to me. Why even bother? You don't have Undertaker and Sting on the same show if they're not going to be facing each other. If Undertaker's going to be coming back at all, it's not going to be against Wyatt. But I digress. But yeah, Wyatt needed the wins more because Ambrose is over. Wyatt was... I don't really like to use this term, but he was quote-unquote buried at the hands of John Cena earlier this year. And during the summer season, the entire Wyatt family was destroyed by John Cena. So he needed the wins more. So I was fine with him winning at TLC. But on the Christmas Raw, really, you couldn't give Ambrose the win. And like I said before, Ambrose won the Tribute to the Troops match, which is good. But WWE didn't even acknowledge that win during the course of Raw last night. They acknowledged the Survivor Series stuff. They acknowledged the TLC win for Wyatt. But they didn't. They failed to mention the fact that he beat Wyatt one-on-one, their boot camp match, at Tribute to the Troops last week, so technically it doesn't even count. I mean, I love Tribute to the Troops. I enjoyed that show. Go back and watch it if you want. But it just kind of felt like a waste of time, because they gave him that win, but still Ambrose has yet to beat Bray Wyatt one-on-one if you don't count that show. Because if it doesn't happen on Raw, if it doesn't happen on SmackDown, if it doesn't happen on the pay-per-views, it technically doesn't happen at all. And the Tribute to the Troops show is kind of a show on its own, so they don't really count it. So I'm happy he won there. But, you know, if we're talking Raws here and we're talking pay-per-views, Ambrose has yet to beat Bray Wyatt. And I thought that was a very dumb move, to be quite honest with you. I thought the match was great, and not to take away from the action of this matchup at all. But they could have very easily given Dean Ambrose a win here. And maybe they're building up to that, but like I said before, really don't want to see them wait on this feud until the Royal Rumble. They already had the TLC matchup, so there's really not much more you can do with this feud. And I was hoping that this would be the blow-off here with Ambrose coming over. You end the Christmas show with Ambrose finally getting his big win over Bray Wyatt. Like, that would have been great, but they had Bray Wyatt win again. And Dean Ambrose made out to look like a loser. It's not going to ruin his character. It's not the most harmful thing in the world. It's not going to do 10 times the more damage that it did to Bray Wyatt when he lost to John Cena a million times. But still, though, I mean, to have this guy lose to Wyatt time after time after time, unless they're building to a heel turn for Ambrose, which, you know what, they very well might be. because they're short on heels right now. With Seth Rollins is obviously the top heel, but when Orton comes back, he'll be a babyface. Roman Reigns came back as a babyface. When Daniel Bryan comes back, whenever it may be, he'll be a babyface. So you know what? Maybe they'll push Dean Ambrose as a heel, but I think it's I think it's way too soon for that. And that he's so over right now that there's no real need to turn him heel. So unless they're going that route with it, I really have no idea where they're going with this whole character development with Wyatt and Ambrose. I'm hoping this is the end of it. It probably won't be, but maybe it won't be. Maybe they'll finally give Ambrose his win. But in what other match can you do where he'll finally pick up that victory over Bray Wyatt if they've already faced off in a TLC match, in a boot camp match, in a Miracle on 34th Street fight? Like, I thought it was a great match, don't get me wrong, but Wyatt winning again. I love Wyatt. I like the fact they're finally building him up as a legitimate threat, but not at the expense of Dean Ambrose. Someone mentioned this last night in a comment thread that I was reading, and they made a great point in that this feud, I think the biggest problem with it is the fact that it happened way too soon. Wyatt's first feud back should not have been against the guy that also needs a win. Dean Ambrose needs a big win right now. He hasn't got a big win in quite a while. Bray Wyatt needed it more because he wasn't as over as Dean Ambrose, in my opinion. So I'm glad he won a TLC, and I'm glad they're finally building him up. But Ambrose needs that win before people look at him like a loser. So hopefully they can give him that big win before long. And like I said before, the biggest issue with this feud is the fact that both guys needed wins at the time when they started it back in October. Bray Wyatt's first feud back should have been with either Sheamus or, I don't know, a guy that he could easily lose or that he could easily beat and have them, have not them be damaged by it. And Dean Ambrose, he's not heavily damaged by this, but I would be lying if I said it didn't do some damage to his character to be losing to Wyatt week after week after week. So hopefully they can blow off the feud before long if this wasn't the blow off already, and they can. This would have been better suited at WrestleMania, but at this point, it really doesn't matter. They're not going to, build this. They're not going to continue this on for another 3-4 months, much less for the next month before Royal Rumble. But like I said before, hopefully they can give Dean Ambrose that big win, either at Royal Rumble or at WrestleMania, Fastlane, whatever, because this guy needs wins. But like I said before, glad to see Wyatt picking up victories, and on the whole, really great match from them in the Miracle on 34th Street in the main event of Monday Night Raw.